How are you guys doing? Today is Friday, February 19th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to do an individual profile on Nikola Jokic, the starting center of the Denver Nuggets, who today is turning 26. And if you were paying attention to the NBA at all right now, you will know that this dude is definitely the real deal. And with this episode, I plan on just listing the accomplishments and achievements that he has added up until now, his age 26, or until his 26th birthday, just to let his numbers and his achievements speak for itself as to why I believe he is an elite basketball player coming into this 2021 calendar year. So with that said, I'm going to give a little bit of background on Nikola Jokic. So If you were to see him right now, he stands at about 6'11", 284 pounds. The way I would best describe his game is he is probably one of the few point centers that I've ever seen. He doesn't rely a lot of his game on athleticism, but he's probably one of the smartest players I've ever seen in the NBA. He has incredible vision. He can basically score from virtually anywhere if you give him enough space. He's a very elite three-point shooter, free throw shooter, turnaround shooter. Put him on the block. He's really good with either hand. At the same time, he can pass it to anybody on the floor. The Denver Nuggets offense virtually runs through him, and I guess that offense works considering they made it to the Western Conference Finals and they lost to the eventual champions. But he's a player that you can see that he's getting better and better. And as he gets older and he's going to rely less on his athleticism, you can see that he's going to age incredibly well in this NBA because he's so shifty. He's so clever. He's so smart, and he's one step ahead of he's one step ahead of most NBA players, which I believe gives him the edge, despite the fact that many NBA players would argue he's probably one of the least athletic players. But at the same time, he's able to hold it down and keep the Nuggets in title contention, and I imagine he's going to get so much better as he ages in this league. So, with a little bit of background, he is originally from Serbia. He's from Sombor, from Serbia, from former Yugoslavia. And when he was about 17, he would get a start with Mega Basket, which is a team in Serbia. He would play in 5 games in the Serbian league in his first season. And then he would move up to the 2013-2014 season. He would play a little bit more for the senior team. He averaged 11 points, 6 rebounds, and 2.5 assists in the 25 games that he would play. And then 10 points and then 6 rebounds in the Serbian league when he was 18 years old. Still showing that he was one of the better prospects in this league. But it would be the 2014-15 season where he would set himself apart within the Serbian league. He would go on to become the regular season MVP within the Adriatic League, averaging 15 points per game, 9 rebounds, and 3.5 assists. He would end up leading the league in rebounds that season, of course. He led the league with an index rating of 22, and of course I'll get into that with a different episode of how they count the index rating. And even before that, he won a silver medal in the U19 World Championship for Serbia as well. And he had established himself as not only the Adriatic League regular season MVP, he was also named the ABA top prospect for the 2014-15 season. And of course, in the 14 games of the Serbian league that he played right before he left to the NBA, he averaged 18 points, 10 rebounds, and then 2 assists per game, shooting 56% from the field. And this is a 20-year-old kid, or I guess that was his age 19 season, and he established himself as already one of the best players in one of Europe's most competitive leagues. And with that, he established himself as a good enough prospect to get taken with a 41st pick overall in the 2014 NBA draft. And if you're unfamiliar with the 2014 NBA draft, that's the draft that contained Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker. So far, Joel Embiid is the only other all-star in this draft class, as I believe Zach LaVine will eventually catch him. So just to give you a sense of that draft class, he was taken 41st overall, second-round pick. And I think and I'm pretty sure the Nuggets did expect a lot out of him too. Once he made it to the Denver Nuggets, I think that was kind of when his career was just ready to take off. So with that, Nikola Jokic in his very first season, in his age 20 season, would start 80 games in a season where the Denver Nuggets finished with the 11th best record in the West. They completely missed the playoffs with a 33-49 record. But of course, within the season, Jokic would start 55 of the 80 games that he would play as he established himself as the go-to center by the end of the season. He would average 10 points a game, 7 rebounds, 2.4 assists, just at 1 steal a game and 0.6 blocks, as he shot 51% from the field, 33% from three, and he would shoot 81% from the free throw line. The fact that he did that as a senior, as a rookie, he was able to show the NBA a little bit of what he was able to do. He would end up making the All-NBA rookie first team as a second rounder. So of course he was turning heads, and people were just starting to catch a glimpse of the type of player that he was slowly growing into. This would transition into his second year in the NBA. In his age 21 season, Nikola Jokic would start 59 of the 73 games that he would play, in a season where the Denver Nuggets would finish with the 9th best record in the Western Conference, as they just missed the playoffs with a 40-42 record. In this season, Nikola Jokic would average, he would increase his scoring numbers to 16.7 points per game. He would increase his rebound numbers to 9.8 rebounds a game, 4.9 assists, and that would be an increase. He nearly doubled it he did double his assist totals. And steals, he would average 0.8 steals, which went down from the previous season, and he also averaged 0.8 blocks, which went up, and it's tied with the that's probably his best blocks season that he's ever had. Also in the season, he would shoot 57.8% from the field, which is the highest percentage he's ever shot from the field in his career. He shot 32.4% from three, which is one of the lower percentages that he shot in his career. And then from the free throw line, he shot 82% from the free throw line. So of course, like, the fact that he was 21 and a second round draft pick, averaging 17, 10, and 5, while shooting pretty good numbers from around, so at this point, as a second year player, the West was definitely starting to take notice. Even though the Nuggets weren't making the playoffs, their young center was starting to become a problem. And in the next season, he would increase his assist numbers even more, as he was just on the doorstep of becoming an NBA All-Star. In his third season in the NBA, his age 22 season in 2017-18, he would start 73 of the 75 games he would play, in a season where the Denver Nuggets would finish 9th in the West again, but this time they finished with 6 more wins on the season. Just the West was a lot stronger this year. And this season, Nikola Jokic would up his scoring average from 16.7 to 18.5. He would up his total rebounding to 9.8 rebounds to 10.7. He would up his assist numbers from 4.9 to 6.1. He would up his steals numbers from 0.8 to 1.2. The second time he'd average at least a steal per game in his career. And he would keep his block numbers roughly at about the same at 0.8. The last time he's ever had a blocks per game average so high. He would go on to, he also averaged the most minutes the second most he would ever average in his career. He averaged 32.6 minutes, shooting 49.9% from the field. The only time in his career he shot below 50% from the field. He shot 39.6% from three, the first time he'd ever he'd ever shot that well from three. And the only full season in which he's doing a little bit better than that right now, but I'll get to that in a second. He shot 85% from the free throw line, which is the best he's ever put together in a full season thus far. And like I said, this would be the last season before he was named an All-Star, and before he was before he made the playoffs. But even before then, this is a player who at 20 going in was 22, turning 23. And remember, he was a second round draft pick, and by this point, averaging 18, 10, and 6. At this point, it was basically a matter of time before he took that next leap and became an NBA All-Star. And for many players, they haven't been able to break through that barrier, but Nikola Jokic did in his age 23 season. In 2018-19, he would start all 80 of the games that he would play, the first time he started every game he played in. In this season, the Denver Nuggets would end up with the second best record in the Western Conference at 54-28, increasing their win totals by 8 from the previous year. And in this season, Nikola Jokic would end up, he would increase his scoring numbers from 18.5 to 20.1 points per game. So far, the most amount of points he's averaged in a season up until this season. He would up his rebounding numbers from 10.7 to 10.8. He would increase his assist numbers from 6.1 to 7.3. He would up his stealing numbers from 1.2 to 1.4, and his blocks would decrease from 0.8 to 0.7. He would end up shooting 51.1% from the field, which is an increase from the previous year, but still the second lowest he put up in a season at that point. He shot 30.7% from three, which is the lowest three-point percentage he had up until that point. And then he shot 82.1% from the free throw line, but still 20 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, and over a steal per game while shooting with those numbers for a center is insane. And of course, the NBA All-Star, the people that voted in All-Stars recognize that. And in 2019, he was named to the in 2019, he was named to the NBA All-Star for the first time in his NBA career. He would finish that season making the All-NBA first team. That is the only time thus far he has been able to accomplish that in his career. And once the Nuggets made the playoffs at the second round, they would end up beating the Spurs 4-3 in the first round, but they would end up losing the second series to the Trailblazers, the year that the Trailblazers made it to the Western Conference Finals, and then ended up losing to the Warriors. But of course, the Nuggets were putting up a good fight, and Nikola Jokic was very instrumental in the Nuggets getting there. And at this point, Nikola Jokic had become one of the NBA's stars at such a young age. And the fact that he was able to do it when he was he was 24 when he was first named. He was 24 when he was first named to the All-NBA first team. So, I mean, the fact that he was able to start from that young in his career, I would draw the conclusion that if he stays healthy, this man is going to have an incredible career moving forward. But this would be the year that that was the year that he was first placed on that level and being referred to as arguably the best center in all of basketball. So we use this to transition into his age 24 season, which was the last full NBA season. In 2019-20, he would start all 23 of the games that he would play in a season where the Denver Nuggets would finish with the third best record in the Western Conference at 46-27. Not as good of a win percentage as the previous year, but this time they would actually make it. I feel like they were more of a complete team this year. And looking at how Nikola Jokic fared, his scoring numbers would drop from 20.1 points to 19.9, but that's still almost 20 points a game. His rebound numbers would dip from 10.8 to 9.7. His assist numbers would dip from 7.3 to 7. His steal numbers would dip from 1.4 to 1.2. His block numbers would dip from 0.7 to 0.6. But from the field, he went from shooting 51% to jumping up to 52.8% from the field. His 30.7 3-point percentage went up to 31.4, and then from the free throw line, his numbers went down from 82 to 81, or 81.7, so roughly about the same. He didn't put up identical numbers as the previous year because, of course, with Nikola Jokic being first team All-NBA, the first team he was an All-Star. Now, of course, he's on everyone's radar, so of course he's given everyone's best. And I think his adjustment to that, I think he adjusted to that better than a lot of NBA players would to that situation. But following this season, Nikola Jokic would be named, or in this season, he would be named an All-Star for the second time in his career. He was named to the All-NBA second team for the first time in his career, but that would be the second All-NBA team he has made. And like I said, at this point, he had shown that he was a consistent All-Star, that he wasn't just a fluke, and that he was definitely there to stay. And even the way he performed in the playoffs would show that that he was even getting a little better, even though his regular season stats took a dip in almost every category. So this year in the bubble playoffs, where they would go to Orlando, they would face off against the Jazz in the first round. After trailing 3-1, they would end up beating the Jazz 4-3 in the first round. And of course, Nikola Jokic, very instrumental in all that. He and Jamal Murray serving as the 1-2 punch that would eventually take this team down. In the second round, they trailed the Clippers 3-1 after 4 games, and then they would eventually come back and beat the Clippers 4-3, pretty much setting up one of the wildest. I wouldn't really call it an upset, but it was pretty much an upset because people expected the Clippers to meet the Lakers, and Nikola Jokic would not let that happen, as he would help the Denver Nuggets advanced to the next round where they would face off against the Los Angeles Lakers in the conference finals. They would run head to head into LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and in this one, the Lakers would beat the Denver Nuggets in 5 games. But I would say the Denver Nuggets playoff run was a very impressive one at that, and Nikola Jokic was very instrumental in that. He was in I think from that, Nikola Jokic has developed a new, I think even since then, Nikola Jokic has developed a new sense of confidence. You can even see where it's showing this season. So if now we're transitioning into this season, and this would be Nikola Jokic's age 25 season, and now he's turning 26. But while he was 25 in this league, so far in the 28 games he started this season, the Denver Nuggets are sitting at 15-13. They have the 8th best record in the Western Conference as of right now, as they sit a game ahead of the Memphis Grizzlies, and they currently sit half a game behind the Warriors. But of course, Nikola Jokic in this season, he's averaging. His numbers are incredibly insane compared to even any of his past seasons. Right now, he's averaging 27.4 points per game, which is literally 7 points more than he's averaged in his best season, which was his NBA first team season. He was averaging 11.1 rebounds, which so far is the highest rebound average he's ever had in his career. He's averaging 8.6 assists, which once again is the highest assist total he's averaging in his career. He's averaging 1.6 steals, highest in his career so far. 0.6 blocks. Tied with the lowest, but I mean at the same. But I digress. He's shooting 57% from the field, which is the second highest to his second year in the league, which he was averaging 16 points. He's shooting 40% from 3, which is the highest 3-point percentage he's ever had in his career. He's also shooting 87.1% from the free throw line, which is also the highest he's had in his career. So Nikola Jokic has taken even a bigger jump from his previous 2 All-Star seasons in which he was regarded as arguably the best center in basketball. Right now it's a head-to-head match between him and Joel Embiid for quite possibly who might be the MVP, or just like the best. Or right now they're definitely competing for who's the best center in all of basketball, and those 2 players are sitting right in the crux of the MVP conversation with how their teams are performing. I imagine the Nuggets are gonna do a little bit better and pick up with their games. But with that said, I think Nikola Jokic's numbers and his accolades speak for themselves. And also, he was named to the NBA All-Star game this season, as he was named a starter. So, I mean, I don't even know what else to say about Nikola Jokic. His numbers should speak for themselves. And the fact that he's like literally at the beginning of his prime, and I think that he can get a lot better from here, is a very scary idea. And just with that said, I think that Nikola Jokic, with that said, going into the season now, age 26, because he's 26 today, he is definitely a player that I intend to keep my eye on for the 2021 season. And with that said, there's not much more to say. If you ever get a chance to check out Nikola Jokic, he's wearing number 15 for the Denver Nuggets. He's the starting center. And if you ever get a chance, check my boy the Joker out, because right now he's putting up career numbers, and this is a player that led the Nuggets to not 1 but 2 comebacks when they were down 3-1 in the playoffs in the same playoff series, or in the same playoff season. But the fact that he's able to do so much and his career is probably not even close to being halfway done should speak enough to his game. And there's really not much more to say about it. But if you ever get a chance to check him out, he's actually playing against the Cleveland Cavaliers today in Cleveland. So just to get a sense of where he's at in his career right now. With that said, today is Friday, February 19th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims. This is The Elite. And following this, I do have 2 profiles tomorrow, as Justin Verlander, the goated starting pitcher for the Houston Astros, turns 38 tomorrow. And then Ciro Immobile, the elite starting striker for Lazio, and I believe the starting striker for the Italian national team, turns 31 tomorrow as well. With that said, once again, today is Friday, February 19th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims. This is The Elite. I want to thank you guys once again for listening to all 19 minutes of this piece. I hope all is well, and peace out. I'll catch you tomorrow with my daily rundown and my 1 Go profile and my 1 Elite profile. Peace out. I'll catch you tomorrow.